In this video, I'm gonna dive into 10 old single-player games that are still totally worth your time in 2024. Mafia 2. If you're looking for a free-roaming game like Grand Theft Auto, Mafia 2 has an open world, stores to shop at or rob, a police system, and many other things you'd expect from that sort of game. But like Mafia 1, the game is a lot more structured. And instead of having much in terms of side content, it plays out like a traditional game campaign, with little time for free roaming. But the game's world is still well designed, even if it's mostly pretty window dressing, and it makes the campaign feel more alive than it would if it was just a corridor shooter. Mafia 2 is the kind of game where the police are actually police, and even though they'll probably never catch you, they'll still try to ticket you for breaking the speed limit. It's the kind of game that isn't afraid to be a little tedious, to give a sense of contrast between a normal life and the mafia life. Like an early level that has you packing crates into the back of a truck to test your patience until you give up and leave. The developers do a good job at recreating the time period, and the cars, radio, and weapons all handle and sound pretty nice. The story and gunplay are both pretty well done, and overall, if you're a fan of mafia stories like The Godfather, then Mafia 2 is worth a shot, as long as you don't go in expecting a true open-world game.
The working man's a sucker, that's for damn sure.
You said it.
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. AC Black Flag is by far one of the best in the entire series. It may have some minor flaws like the forced stealth sections, the tailing missions, and the optional objectives, but those were mostly okay. The story is pretty revolutionary for an AC game, especially with the ship combat that is phenomenal. You get to experience the life of a pirate and can have a first-person view for the first time. The collectibles are a fun distraction, and the 100 challenges were, well, challenging. There are also amazing ship upgrades that make you feel like you're in charge of a large-scale crew that was sailing the seven seas. The combat is simple but immersive, and the weapons are fun to use to your own advantage. The main character that you play is also the best assassin, since he is so relatable and has his own struggles outside of the creed. In the end, this game is the best AC game and probably even one of the best Ubisoft game. Sleeping Dogs. If you look at this superficially, you're going to say it's a badly made GTA clone. Take a second to look beneath the surface, and you will understand it's so much more. The gameplay is fun as hell. The combat system is a slightly modified version of the Arkham formula, allowing for more flexibility during combat. Yes, if you want to just get combat out of the way, you can pummel the keys and get through most fights. But if you really want to look stylish, you can pull off some great moves. One very important thing about this game most people won't tell you: you can grab a person and slam them headfirst into an aquarium, causing the whole aquarium to break and the fish to spill out. You can then grab a fish and beat people with fish that just came out of the broken aquarium. Oh, and there's this one moment where you toss a gangster into an ice chipper. Get it on sale or for full price, either way, this game is worth experiencing. Quantum Break. Terribly underrated, and even a little too hated from what I've seen. It's not perfect, but none of the game's flaws are real deal breakers. It is a very great time travel story with cool set pieces wrapped in a pretty solid third-person shooter. It also has a whole live-action miniseries in it that changes based on your game choices, which kind of kills the pacing, but it's neat to watch. I have always really liked Remedy games, but somehow Quantum Break is special, very appealing for me in particular, while I think it's not as perfect as Alan Wake. But Quantum Break and the story of time travel feels great, and it mixes a potentially good story with a very massive technical aspect. The whole time fracture theme with the time waves and the physical representation of fractured light makes Quantum Break one of the most beautiful games I have ever seen. And gameplay is very enjoyable with the powers, quick movements, dynamic covers, and while the gunplay is not the best, the whole power system makes it very fun to play. Some combats can be really spectacular. In general, I can safely say that I absolutely recommend this game.
Okay. Enough joking. The lab's this way, Jack. Come on.
Spec Ops: The Line. Playing this game is rather like watching the proverbial train wreck. You'll be horrified, but you can't look away. This is in no way a bad thing. Spec Ops wants to tell a story about soldiers in war. But unlike games such as Call of Duty, it doesn't want you to feel like an awesome, unstoppable killing machine. It wants you to see that war is not glamorous, awesome, fun, or desirable. It wants you to see the terrible toll that combat can exact on those who experience it. And above all, it wants you to see that in real conflict, there are no good guys and bad guys, and the world is full of gray areas. War is hell, and anyone who goes in will either join the fortunate dead or have to live with what they've done to survive. Spec Ops is a third-person cover-based shooter that alternates between desert environments and crumbling urban ruin. You have two squad mates who can be directed to attack specific targets or heal a fallen comrade. They're pretty good at following orders in a timely fashion, and unlike some other AI partners, they're not highly prone to getting themselves shot constantly or hung up on the level geometry. Enemies are decently clever, more than willing to flank you, toss grenades to get you out of cover, or trick you into walking right into a heavy trooper's line of fire. I highly recommend this game. Though, the real problem is, this game has been delisted on Steam Store or pretty much everywhere, and is pretty hard to get.
Not yet.
Yeah, it sure as hell ain't good.
Can you at least get her running? When you told her back to the boat was gonna be a bitch.
Look, I'm a mechanic, not a miracle worker, all right? I'll tell you what I can do, though.
There! See him? Look! Open fire! Hostile down!
Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 has the best story I've ever experienced from an FPS. The relationship between the player's character and his Titan is one that's fun to witness, made sweeter with occasional dialogue choices that really amplify their personalities. The overall arc is short, but doesn't feel short as the delivery of the story is perfect. The villains don't have a whole lot of depth, but they're not super important individually in the overall narrative and fit their purpose well. There are some allied side characters as well, but again their background and personality aren't integrated into the main story really. There's two types of combat in the game, on foot and piloting your Titan. You'll spend most of your time on foot, and that's the more fun part, but the Titan combat is also fun in its own right with the different loadouts you can switch between on the fly. The on-foot gameplay is extremely fast-paced and fluid. You never have to stop, and all the different movement mechanics of wall running, sliding. They're extremely easy to implement as you're playing both in and out of combat. If you're into fast-paced movement in games or snappy shooters, you'll love this. Dying Light. Dying Light is a zombie game that focuses on atmosphere and player movement. If you have played Dead Island, you already know the basic mechanics. Craft melee weapons and bash zombies while collecting supplies. But Dying Light employs numerous changes that improve on this. Atmosphere is perhaps its best asset. The day-night cycle is a crucial component, as there are major changes to mood and gameplay as the sun sets behind the horizon. At night, the tension elevates as you experience reduced visibility and face zombies that are nimble, fast, and deadly. You will be tempted to venture out at night for extra rewards. During the day, you battle hordes of shambling zombies that are fun to eviscerate with a broad selection of weaponry. The difference between night and day provides a genuine roller coaster ride. Parkour movement makes navigating the world immensely enjoyable. You are able to run, jump, and climb over buildings with ease. You just look at a ledge and hold the jump button to climb. The single player is surprisingly entertaining and lengthy, with side quests that are often better than those in the story. Characters are well-defined and memorable, with more effort given to justify the game world. You run between areas, clear safe zones, rescue people, and collect items. Story missions might even feature shootouts in indoor levels. Overall, Dying Light is a terrific zombie game that greatly improves the core mechanics from Dead Island. Beyond Two Souls. Beyond Two Souls deserves an honorable mention on this list, not for gameplay, but for story games as a whole. Going forward from that, to games like Until Dawn, you can really see how developers leaned into narrative-driven games that sure were lacking in gameplay elements, but leave you satisfied with a good story and multiple endings to replay and see how your choices affect the story. If you love games like Fahrenheit, Detroit Become Human, or Heavy Rain, then 100% you will like this game too. Absolutely recommended.
Okay, we're gonna put this on now. Remember? It's just like a crown. Oh, yeah. Oh, now you're a little princess.